Hello, boys and girls. Hannah Baker here, live and in stereo. No return engagements, no encore, and this time, absolutely no requests. I hope you're ready, because I'm going to tell you the story of my life, more specifically, why my life ended, and if you're listening to these tapes, you're one of the reasons why. I'm not saying which tape brings you into the story, but fear not. If you receive this lovely little box, your name will pop up. I promise. Now, why would a dead girl lie? Hey, that sounds like a joke. Why would a dead girl lie? Because she can't stand up. Go ahead, laugh. Oh well, I thought it was funny. The rules are pretty simple. There are only two. Rule number one, you listen. Number two, you pass it on. Hopefully, neither one will be easy for you. When you're done listening to all 13 sides, because there are 13 sides to every story, rewind the tapes, put them back in the box, and pass them on to whoever follows your little tale. And you, lucky number 13, you can take the tapes straight to hell. Depending on your religion, maybe I'll see you there. In case you're tempted to break the rules, understand that I did make a copy of these tapes. These copies will be released in a very public manner if this package doesn't make it through all of you. This was not a spur-of-the-moment decision. Do not take me for granted again. You are being watched. Oh, I almost forgot. If you're on my list, you should have received a map. Throughout the tapes, I'll be mentioning several spots around our beloved city for you to visit. I can't force you to go there, but if you'd like a little more insight, just head for the stars. Or if you'd like, just throw the maps away, and I'll never know. Maybe I will. I'm not exactly sure how this whole dead thing works. Who knows, maybe I'm standing behind you right now. I'm sorry, that wasn't fair. Ready, Mr. Foley? Justin, honey, you were my very first kiss. My very first hand to hold. But you were nothing more than an average guy. And I don't say that to be me. I don't. There's just something about you that made me need to be your girlfriend. This day, I don't know exactly what that was, but it was there, and it was amazingly strong. You don't know this, but 2 years ago, when I was a freshman and you were a sophomore, I used to follow you around. For 6th period, I worked in the attendance office, so I knew every one of your classes. I even photocopied your schedule, which I'm sure I still have here somewhere. When they go through my belongings, they'll probably toss it away thinking a freshman crush has no relevance. But does it? For me, yes it does. I went back as far as you to find an introduction to my story, and this is really where it begins. When you reach the end of these tapes, Justin, I hope you'll understand your role in all of this, because it may seem like a small role now, but it matters. In the end, everything matters. Betrayal. It's one of the worst feelings. I know you didn't mean to let me down. In fact, most of you listening probably had no idea what you were doing, what you were truly doing. Our first star can be found at C4. Take your finger over to C, drop it down to 4. That's right, like Battleship. When you're done with this tape, you should go there. We only lived in that house a short while, the summer before my freshman year, where we lived when you first came to town. And it's where I first saw you, Justin. Maybe you'll remember. You were in love with my friend Kat. School was still 2 months away, and Kat was the only person I knew that knew because she lived right next door. She told me you were all over her the previous year. Oh, not literally all over her, just staring and accidentally bumping into her in the halls. I mean, those were accidents, right? Kat told me that at the end of school dance, you finally found the nerve to do more than stare and bump into her. The two of you danced every slow song together, and soon she told me she was going to let you kiss her. The very first kiss of her life. What an honor. I wanted to see what you looked like, Justin, so we called you from my house and told you to come over. We called you from my house because Kat didn't want you to know where she lived. Well, not yet, even though her house was right next door. We were playing ball. I don't know if it was basketball, baseball, or what, but you couldn't come over until later, so we waited. We sat in my front bay window talking for hours when all of a sudden, you and one of your friends, "Hi, Zach," came walking up the street. 2 streets meet in front of my old house like an upside-down T, so you were walking up in the middle of the road toward us. You stepped out of the gutter and planted one foot on the lawn. My dad had the sprinklers running all morning, so the grass was wet, and your foot slid forward, sending you into a split. Zach had been staring at the window, trying to get a better view of Kat's new friend, yours truly, and he tripped over you, landing beside you on the curb. You pushed him off and stood up. Then he stood up, and you both looked at each other, not sure what to do. And your decision? You ran back down the street while Kat and I laughed like crazy in the window. Kat moved away before the start of school, and I fell in love with the boy she left behind. And it wasn't long until that boy started showing an interest in me, which might have had something to do with the fact that I seemed to always be around. We didn't share any classrooms, but our classes for periods 1, 4, and 5 were at least close to each other. Okay, so period 5 was a stretch, and sometimes I wouldn't get there until after you left, but periods 1 and 4 were at least in the same hall. After a while, I managed to say hello, and a little while later, you managed to say it back. Then one day, I walked by you without saying a word. I knew you couldn't handle that, and it led to our very first multi-word conversation. "Hey," you said, "aren't you going to say hello?" I smiled, took a breath, then turned around. "Why should I?" "Because you always say hello." I asked why you thought you were such an expert on me. I said you probably didn't know anything about me. Earlier, when I asked my mom on how to get a boy's attention, she said, "Play hard to get." So that's what I was doing. And sure enough, it worked. You started hanging around my classes waiting for me. It seems like weeks went by before you finally asked for my number. But I knew you eventually would, so I practiced saying it out loud. Real calm and confident, like I didn't really care. Like I gave it out 100 times a day. Yes, boys at my old school had asked for my number, but here at my new school, you were the first. No, that's not true, but you were the first to actually get my number. It's not that I didn't want to give it out before. I was just cautious. New town, new school, and this time I was going to be in control of how people saw me. After all, how often do we get a second chance? Before you, Justin, whenever anyone asked, I'd say all the right numbers up until the very last one. And I'd get scared and mess up, sort of accidentally on purpose. I was getting way too excited watching you write down my number. Luckily, you were way too nervous to notice. And I finally spat out that last number, the correct number. I smiled so big. Meanwhile, your hand was shaking so badly I thought you were going to screw it up, and I was not going to let that happen. I pointed at the number you were writing. "That should be a 7, I said. "It is a 7. "Oh well, as long as you know it's a 7. "I do," he said, "but you scratched it out anyway, and made me even shake your 7. I stretched the cup of my sleeve into my palm and almost reached over to wipe the sweat from your forehead. Something my mother would have done. But thankfully, I didn't do that. You've never asked another girl for her number again. By the time I got home, you'd already called. Twice. My mom asked who you were, and I said we had a class together. You were probably just calling with a homework question. And she said that's exactly what you had told her. I can't believe it, Justin. You lied to my mom. So why did that make me so happy? Because our lives matched. It was a sign. My mom asked what class we had, and I said math, which wasn't a total lie. We both had math, just not together, and of the same type. Good, Mom said, because that's what he told me. I accused her of not trusting her own daughter grabbed the slip of paper with your number from her hand, and ran upstairs. When you answered the phone, I said, "Justin, it's Hannah. Mom said you called with a math problem." You were confused, but eventually you remembered lying to my mom, and like a good boy, you apologized. "So, Justin, what's the math problem?" I asked. You weren't getting off that easy. Or maybe I'll... Blah. And you didn't miss a beat. You told me that train A was leaving her house at 3:45 p.m. and train B was leaving my house 10 minutes later. You couldn't see this, Justin, but I actually raised my hand like I was in school rather than sitting on the edge of my bed. "Pick me, Mr. Foley, pick me," I said. "I know the answer." When you called my name, "Yes, Miss Baker," I threw Mom's hard-to-get rule right out the window. I told you the two trains meet at Eisenhower Park at the bottom of the rocket slide. A long pause at the end of your line, Justin. And I mean a long pause. "So when did the trains meet?" you asked. 15 minutes, I said. You said, and 15 minutes seemed awfully slow for two trains going at full speed. I know what you're all thinking. Hannah Baker is a slut. Oops, did you catch that? I said Hannah Baker is. Can't say that anymore. Wrong. Hannah Baker is not, and never was, a slut. Which begs the question, what have you heard? I simply wanted a kiss. I was a freshman girl who had never been kissed. Never. But I liked a boy, he liked me, and I was going to kiss him. That's the story. The whole story. Right there. A few nights leading up to our meeting in the park, I had the same dream, exactly the same, from beginning to end. And for your listening pleasure, here it is. But first, a little background. My old town had a park similar to Eisenhower Park in one way. They both had that rocket ship. I'm sure it was made by the same company since they looked identical. The red nose points to the sky, and metal bars run from the nose all the way down to the green fins holding the ship off the ground. Between the nose and the fins are three platforms, connected by three ladders. On the up level is a steering wheel. On the mid-level is a slide that leads down to the playground. On many nights leading up to my first day of school here, I'd climb up onto the top of that rocket and let my head fall back against the steering wheel. The night breeze blowing through the bars calmed me. I'd just close my eyes and think of home. I think that's the reason in my dreams my first kiss took place in the rocket ship. It reminded me of innocence, and that's what I wanted my first kiss to be. Innocent. So back to my dreams, which started the day you began waiting outside my classroom door. The day I knew you liked me. The dream starts with me at the top of a rocket, holding onto the steering wheel. It's still a playground rocket, not a real one, but every time I turn the wheel to the left, the trees in the park lift up their roots and sidestep to the left. When I turn the wheel to the right, they sidestep to the right. Then I hear your voice calling up from the ground. Hannah, stop playing with the trees, and come see me. So I leave the steering wheel and climb through the hole in the top platform. When I reach the next platform, my feet have grown so huge that they won't fit through the next hole. I poke my head through the bars and shout, "My feet are too big. Do you still want me to come down?" "I love big feet," you shout back. "Come down the slide and see me. I'll catch you." So I sit on the slide and push off, but the wind resistance on my feet makes me go slow. And the times it takes me to reach the bottom of the slide, I notice your feet are extremely small, almost non-existent. You walk to the end of the slide with your arms out, ready to catch me. And wouldn't you know it, when I jump off, my huge feet don't step on your little feet. "See, you say, we're made for each other." Then you lean in to kiss me. Your lips are getting closer, and I wake up.